The first thing that should have tipped me off was how the entire house smelled like a stranger. Not her usual candles or the soft trace of her shampoo. No, it was the sharp, intrusive scent of a man's cologne, the kind that doesn't belong to a husband who's been away on a business trip for 2 days. But I didn't catch it immediately. I was too busy dropping my suitcase at the door, my mind running through what I was going to tell her first, about the promotion, about the raise, about how everything I had worked for was finally paying off, and now, finally, we could move forward. Maybe get that lake house she always talked about. But the house answered me with silence. I called out her name, Brittany, and only the dull echo of my own voice came back. I walked down the hallway, every step feeling heavier than the last. That's when I noticed it. One of her heels kicked off carelessly in the middle of the floor, the other nowhere in sight. The fridge door was slightly ajar, humming a low mechanical note, and half a bottle of cheap white wine stood sweating on the counter. None of it made sense. She hated cheap wine. Then the phone, her phone, abandoned next to the couch, buzzed once. Twice. A torrent of buzzing. It was like the thing was alive. No lock screen. No passcode. Just flashing endless banners of messages from a contact saved under nothing more than a single emoji, a wolf. My hand hovered over it, torn between touching it and pretending it didn't exist. Finally, I picked it up. The words burned into me like acid. Last night was unreal. Still taste you on my lips. Can't stop thinking about your little trick with the... When can we do it again? Tonight? I read them all. Every word. Not once. Not twice. Over and over like some sick ritual until the shape of reality changed around me. Until it became impossible to convince myself I misunderstood. The bathroom door creaked upstairs. She was home. For a moment, my body locked, not from fear, but from a quiet, suffocating rage that made my skin feel too small for my bones. I didn't yell. I didn't storm up the stairs. I waited, still as a corpse, holding the phone loosely at my side. Then I heard her footsteps, light and casual, padding down the stairs. She came into view wearing one of my shirts, hair damp from a shower, smelling like a floral soap she never used before. When she saw me standing there, her body froze for a millisecond, just long enough for the truth to pour out of her pores like poison. Then she forced a smile, casual, lazy, sweetly venomous. Hey babe. You're home early. Her voice was silk covering a dagger. I didn't speak. I raised the phone and tilted it toward her. A single twitch ran across her mouth, barely noticeable. Then, without even blinking, she said, "It's not what you think." Not even blinking. I took one step closer, the air stretching taut between us. Her hands flicked through the air, dismissive, impatient, as if I was the one making a scene, as if I was the unreasonable one. "You're being paranoid," she said. "It's just flirting. Everyone flirts. It's not a big deal. Don't be dramatic." I stared at her, the room shrinking, the walls tilting. My heart wasn't beating in my chest anymore, it was hammering somewhere in my throat, my ears, the tips of my fingers. "Is he here?" I asked, voice low, barely mine. A flash of irritation crossed her face, like I was a child embarrassing her in public. "Of course not. God, you're so insecure sometimes." And just like that, she turned her back to me, started gathering up dishes from the counter like we were having some ordinary Tuesday night. Like she hadn't just shattered 6 years into a pile of ash at our feet. And as she turned, something small, something stupid and meaningless caught my eye, the corner of a t-shirt poking out from under the couch, black and unfamiliar. My blood ran cold. I didn't think. I just moved. In 2 steps I was at the couch, yanking it away from the wall. And there it was, the t-shirt crumpled on top of a pair of sneakers, a man's wallet, a pack of gum with a hotel keycard sticking out from the folds. I heard a sharp breath behind me. I turned slowly. Brittany's face was a perfect, poisonous calm. No shame. No apology. Just cold calculation. She licked her lips once, slowly, and said, "So what? What are you gonna do about it?" For a moment, I honestly thought I might lose consciousness because the way she looked at me, like I was some pathetic inconvenience standing in her kitchen, blocking her way to whatever miserable future she had planned, ripped through everything I thought I knew about her. About us. "So what?" she repeated, her voice dripping in casual cruelty. "You gonna cry? You gonna hit me? Grow up." I stood there, frozen between heartbreak and pure, blinding disbelief. Not even a flicker of regret. Not even a fake apology to save herself. Brittany leaned against the counter, arms crossed like she was waiting for a bus, tapping her nails against her elbow. I could hear them clicking, sharp, indifferent sounds, while inside me, everything collapsed at once. I knelt and picked up the wallet. Flipped it open. A driver's license stared back at me, Travis Monroe, smiling in a way that made my fists clench. I held it up toward her without a word. She shrugged. "Travis is fun. You're not." The words hit harder than any punch. She said them the way someone might comment on the weather. Careless. Bored. I dropped the wallet on the counter. It made a loud smack, but she didn't even flinch. Instead, she sighed, pushed off the counter, and walked toward the staircase like she was already done with this conversation, like I was just background noise. You don't get to walk away, I said. She stopped halfway up, one hand lazily trailing on the banister. Why not? You walked away from me years ago. Always working. Always tired. Always somewhere else. The lie was so outrageous, so backward, I actually laughed, one sharp, broken sound that startled even me. I had bent my life around her. Spun every decision around what she wanted. Built everything with her in mind. Every promotion, every hour, every sacrifice. And now she stood there, tossing my devotion into the trash like it was a used napkin. You could have told me you were unhappy, I said, voice raw. She turned her head slowly, looking over her shoulder at me with a mocking smile. And you could have been someone worth staying for. Every part of me wanted to scream, to rip the walls apart, to drag every memory of her out of my soul and set it on fire. But I stayed still. Frozen. Not because I was weak, because something colder and stronger was taking over now. I stepped closer to the stairs, close enough to see her pupils narrow, her jaw twitch ever so slightly. You think you're going to get away with this? I asked. She laughed. Actually laughed. A cruel, high sound that cut the silence like a blade. I already have, she said. Then she disappeared upstairs, leaving me standing there with the echo of her betrayal vibrating in my bones. For a long time, I didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Somewhere above me, I heard her bedroom door slam. Heard drawers opening, things being thrown into bags. She wasn't just walking out, she was running. But I wasn't going to let her write the ending. Not like this. I walked to the front door. Opened it wide. Let the night air rush in, cold and sharp. Then I walked back to the foot of the stairs, waited. When she came down, suitcase in hand, she stopped at the bottom step and looked at me like I was a piece of furniture she was glad to leave behind. Move, she said. I didn't. She tried to step around me. I didn't budge. You're going to regret this, I said, voice low. She smirked. Doubt it. Then she shoved past me, a hard, careless, and walked out into the night, not looking back once. The door swung closed behind her. And just like that, the house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a crime scene. Every wall, every chair, every picture frame soaked in the betrayal she left behind. I stood there for what felt like hours, breathing in the ruins. And then, just as the numbness began to settle into my bones, her phone, still lying abandoned on the couch, buzzed again. One new message. From Travis. So? He know yet? When can you come over? I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. The words from Travis were a punch straight to whatever was left of my spine. Casual. Mocking. Like I wasn't even human, just an obstacle they had laughed about while plotting their little escape. The worst part? She didn't even bother taking her phone. That's how little I meant to her. Forgotten like garbage at the curb. I sank onto the couch, the weight of everything pressing me down until the cushions barely cushioned anything at all. Her scent was still in the fabric. I hated myself for noticing. Hated myself more for missing it even while my hands itched to tear this place apart. The screen dimmed, but I tapped it awake again, staring. An idea started curling itself around my mind, slow and venomous. I opened the message. Typed back 2 words, soon. Wait. Seconds later, he replied. Can't wait to see you in that little thing you wore last week. The bile rose so hard I had to cover my mouth. I stood up too fast, the room spinning around me in a whirlpool of betrayal and fury. She was still playing the part upstairs, maybe thinking she could slide back and later, fake some tears, spin some story. She had no idea I was holding all the cards now. I didn't smash the phone. I didn't throw it against the wall like some idiot who wanted to forget. No, I pocketed it. Careful. Methodical. I grabbed my car keys next. The night outside swallowed me whole, a cold, starless thing that matched exactly how I felt inside. The drive wasn't planned. I didn't even remember deciding to go anywhere. But my hands moved on their own, turning the wheel, following some primal instinct deeper into the streets she thought she could hide in. Lights blurred past. My mind raced. I wasn't thinking straight anymore, but not in the way you lose control. It was the opposite. I was sharper now than I had ever been. I pulled into a gas station parking lot. Killed the engine. Sat there in the darkness, watching the cars drift by on the main road, each one a tiny flash of other people's normal, untouched lives. I pulled her phone out again. Opened the message thread. Photos. So many photos. Her, draped across cheap hotel bed sheets. Her, in that dress I bought her last anniversary, the one she had lost a month later. Her, making faces into the camera, faces she used to save only for me. I scrolled further back. Messages from months ago. Plans made behind my back. Excuses rehearsed and perfected. My stomach twisted tighter with every scroll, but I forced myself to keep reading. I needed to see it all. To carve it into memory so I'd never again believe another lie that came wrapped in a pretty smile. Then something caught my eye. A date. A night when she told me she was staying late at her sister's. A night I had surprised her by leaving work early and found the house empty, the bed made, her phone switched off. And here, in her chat, a photo taken that very night, her hand tangled in Travis's hair, her foot pressing against his chest, both of them laughing. Mocking me. I gripped the phone until it dug into my palm, but still didn't let go. Because then a new message lit up the top of the screen. From Brittany. To Travis. It's done. He found out. I played the poor victim. Might be able to keep the house if I cry hard enough. The parking lot spun around me. I dropped the phone onto the passenger seat like it had burned me. She wasn't just cheating. She was plotting to gut me clean. Take the house. Maybe take more. Play me like a fool for sympathy while she skipped off into her new life without a scratch. Somewhere inside me, the last thread that still tied me to the man who loved her snapped. For the first time that night, I smiled. Not because I found any of this funny, but because now I knew exactly what had to happen next. And Brittany had no idea that when I came back, I wouldn't be the same man she thought she could destroy. I drove back without turning the radio on, without even noticing the world outside the windshield. The house came into view like something dragged out of a memory I didn't want anymore. I pulled into the driveway slow, deliberate, letting the engine rumble longer than necessary before cutting it off. The windows were dark. Silent. She was still inside. Probably upstairs, still packing, or maybe already practicing the tearful speech she was going to try and sell me when the time came. I let myself in without making a sound. The air was stale now, thick with the leftovers of the life we used to share. Every step toward the living room felt like walking through a battlefield after the shooting stopped, quiet, ruined, dangerous. Her suitcase stood near the door, now zipped shut and upright, like she was ready to roll out any second. A note sat taped to the handle. I didn't touch it yet. Instead, I walked slowly through the house, letting my eyes memorize everything she was leaving behind. Framed photos of vacations we never really enjoyed, gifts that had meant everything to me and nothing to her. Little stupid souvenirs of a life I had fought like hell to build. And she threw it all out the window for a man who sent emojis as a name in her phone. I turned toward the stairs, ready for whatever fight she wanted to pick, but I found her already at the top landing, watching me. Brittany was dressed differently now. Tight jeans, leather jacket, hair pulled into a messy ponytail like she was already halfway out the door. A performance. A character. She leaned against the banister and crossed her arms like she was auditioning for some role she thought would make me crumble. You gonna make this ugly? She asked, voice flat. No, I said, keeping my voice calm enough to scare even myself. You already did that. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes like I was boring her. I didn't cheat because you're a bad guy, okay? I cheated because you're boring. Safe. Predictable. Every word was a bullet, but I didn't flinch. You think that makes you strong? I asked. She smirked. Stronger than you. I stepped onto the first stair. She straightened just a little like she thought maybe she'd gone too far, but she didn't back down. You were never strong, I said, voice rising now. You were desperate. You thought if you played cute long enough, you could scam your way into the life you wanted without doing any of the work. Spare me the speeches, she snapped, grabbing the suitcase. You lost. Get over it. I stayed where I was. Let her come down toward me. Halfway down, she shoved the note at me. I'm taking the house, she said. Travis's brother is a lawyer. Don't even bother fighting it. I unfolded the paper without looking away from her face. It was a list. Items she expected me to pack up and deliver to her new place. Furniture. Dishes. Electronics. She actually thought she could humiliate me further by making me her moving service. You don't get it yet, I said, voice low, dangerous. What, she said, lifting her chin. You didn't just burn this bridge, I said. You lit it while you were standing on it. She laughed again, dry, humorless. And what are you gonna do about it? Cry? Beg? Please spare me the sad husband routine. I took a step closer. Close enough to see the smallest crack in her mask. A flicker of uncertainty. I'm going to make sure you regret every second you wasted thinking I was weak, I said. She hesitated. For the first time that night, she hesitated. Not because she was scared, Brittany didn't scare easily, but because she realized she wasn't the only one playing the game anymore. She pulled the suitcase toward the door with a sharp jerk. Whatever. You're pathetic, she spat over her shoulder. And then, without another glance, she left. The door slammed so hard the frame shook. I stood there a long time, holding the stupid list in my hand, letting the silence thicken around me. Then I walked into the kitchen, pulled her phone from my pocket, opened the message app again, and I started typing. Not to Travis. To someone else. Someone she had no idea was about to be part of the story. I didn't rush the message. Every word had to be perfect. I found the contact labeled Lindsay, work, buried in Brittany's phone. Not Travis. Not any guy. Lindsay. Her closest friend. The one who knew everything. The one Brittany once drunkenly bragged about. If anyone ever rats me out, it won't be her. She's loyal. Funny thing about loyalty, it shatters faster than glass once pressure's applied. I thumbed out a message, choosing each word like I was loading a gun. Hey, need to talk. It's about Travis. And what he said after last time. I didn't sign it with Brittany's name. I didn't have to. Lindsay would assume. Lindsay would bite. The screen showed read almost instantly. Then 3 dots blinking in panic. What? What do you mean? What did he say? I sat back against the counter, feeling something close to satisfaction for the first time tonight. Brittany wasn't just reckless. She was sloppy. And sloppy people leave too many cracks to crawl through. Before Lindsay could panic further, I dropped the real bait. You know what he said about you? About the photos? I could practically feel the blood drain from her face through the screen. Another fast reply. We said that was deleted. You promised. I smiled grimly. I didn't know what photos she meant. Didn't have to. Sometimes the best weapon is making your enemy tell you where to strike. I slid Brittany's phone into my pocket again and calmly walked through the house. The living room looked smaller now, like the walls were caving in on memories I didn't want. The couch where she used to curl up next to me. The table where she blew out the candles on her last birthday while I filmed her smiling that fake, sugary smile. Everything was poisoned now. Everything was staged. I grabbed a trash bag from under the sink. Started moving through the house mechanically, throwing anything that smelled like her into it. Pillows. Perfume bottles. Scarves. Photos torn right off the walls. I worked fast, almost surgical, like ripping out infected flesh before it could spread. Halfway through the bedroom, Brittany's side drawer caught my eye. I yanked it open. Buried under receipts and old phone chargers was a second phone. A burner. I stared at it a long moment, then turned it on. It buzzed awake immediately. No passcode. The messages were endless. More filth. More plans. Worse, names I recognized. People we both knew. Friends. Even someone from her office she used to badmouth over dinner. She wasn't just cheating with Travis. Travis was just the latest. She'd been building an entire private life underneath the one we shared, like a second, rotting basement under a nice house you didn't know was sinking. I sat down heavily on the edge of the bed, the full weight of it finally caving my chest in. All the years. All the loyalty. All the blind faith. Gone. Replaced by this twisted, sprawling wreck she called a life. And still, she thought she could waltz out of here with the house, with the car, with everything I fought for, while painting herself as the victim. But she had miscalculated one thing. I wasn't going to fight her in court. I wasn't going to scream in the street or stalk her like some broken ex. I was going to burn her life from the inside out. Piece by piece. Silently. Precisely. Without a trace. I tucked the burner phone into my jacket. I had all the tools I needed now. It was time to light the match. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even lie down. I sat in the kitchen in the same chair I'd once pulled out for Brittany when we first moved in, when I still thought every stupid, simple gesture mattered. Now the chair felt cold under me, like the house itself was rejecting what it used to stand for. I watched the clock bleed out the hours. By sunrise, the plan was fully formed. Not rage-fueled. Not blind. Surgical. I wasn't going to confront Travis. I wasn't going to scream at Lindsay. I wasn't even going to call Brittany. No, I would do what she never thought I was smart enough to do. I would make her destroy herself. The first move was simple. I transferred every message, every photo, every thread from the burner phone onto a clean flash drive. No trace left on the devices. No obvious hand tying it back to me. Then I pulled up an anonymous email account. I didn't send it to Brittany. I didn't send it to Travis. I sent it to every major contact in her life. Her boss. Her family group chat. Her old college friends she still pretended to be better than. Even the women in her Pilates class, the ones she loved gossiping with after pretending to work out. The subject line was simple. What Brittany's really been up to. No words in the body. Just the files. Let them interpret it however they wanted. By the time Brittany figured out what hit her, she'd be swinging blindly at shadows, trying to stop a story she couldn't even see unfolding. I hit send. One by one. Each with the finality of a nail in a coffin. The second move took more patience. I packed a small box, not of her things, but of every lie she left behind. A ripped photo from our wedding. A receipt from the hotel she swore she only stayed at once during a storm. The empty perfume bottle Travis had once commented on in a message. Smells like you wore it just for me. I labeled the box carefully. Memories you can keep. No note inside. No explanation. Just facts. I left it on the hood of her car parked at the apartment she thought I didn't know about. Then I left, blending into the morning traffic like a ghost. By noon, the storm hit. The first calls started buzzing on my personal phone, Brittany's number flashing across the screen again and again. I watched them ring out. Listen to her voicemail break down from casual irritation to rising panic. Hey, pick up. Then? I know what you're doing, stop it, you're ruining everything. Then? You don't understand, Travis wasn't even serious, it didn't mean anything. And finally, you're killing me, please? Please, just talk to me. The sound of her begging, truly begging, was a symphony. But I wasn't done. Because Brittany didn't just love attention. She needed it. It was her oxygen. And without it, she would suffocate faster than any revenge I could have screamed in her face. The third move was cruel in a way only someone who truly knew her could be. I blocked her everywhere. Socials. Phone. Email. Then I contacted the leasing office at the apartment complex she had secretly rented under her name. Informed them, anonymously, of course, that the resident had been reported for lease violations, extra tenants, unauthorized guests, disturbances. I knew the rules were strict there. 1 report wouldn't get her evicted. But 3 would. And the burner phone had enough dirt to create 3 reports without even breaking a sweat. While Brittany scrambled to pick up the pieces, while Travis realized he was just another name on a long list and started backing away like a coward, I would be moving forward. Free. Light. Unbreakable. The only thing left for Brittany would be the wreckage she created now with no one willing to pull her out of it. And still, sitting there at the crossroads of revenge and finality, a thought burned through me hotter than the rage. She hadn't even fought for me. Not once. Not even to pretend. She'd just thrown me away like a broken tool she was tired of carrying. And somehow, even after everything I had unleashed. That was what hurt most of all. It didn't take long for the collapse to start showing cracks on the surface. By evening, the text messages turned into emails. By night, the emails turned into voicemails from Brittany's mother, her sister, even a few old friends, people I hadn't heard from in years now demanding explanations like I owed them something. Each one carried the same desperate flavor. What's happening? Brittany's freaking out. Can we talk? She's saying crazy things. She's saying you're ruining her life. I ignored them all. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. And the truth was that Brittany had finally been forced into the one thing she couldn't survive. Exposure. Around midnight, I got a message from an unknown number. Short. Sharp. You proud of yourself, man? Travis. I stared at the message, feeling nothing. The man who had helped gut my life now wanted to appeal to my better nature. He still didn't get it. None of them did. I didn't reply. Didn't have to. Because the world Brittany had spent years carefully fabricating, posing on social media, flashing smiles at family reunions, throwing up fake inspirational quotes about loyalty and strength, was folding in on itself like wet paper. And the beauty of it was I didn't have to lift a finger now. The rot would do all the work. The next day was a Saturday. I woke early, showered, dressed sharply, clean jeans, button-down shirt, nothing flashy. Just calm. Neutral. I knew she would come. I wasn't surprised when, around noon, a car screeched into the driveway like a bullet. I watched from the window as Brittany jumped out, hair a mess, makeup smeared like she'd either been crying or trying too hard not to. No suitcase this time. Just her, raw and furious. She pounded on the door like she was trying to break it down with her fists. I let her knock. Let her scream. Let the neighbors peek out from their curtains and whisper. Finally, after a good 10 minutes, I opened the door. Didn't say a word. Brittany shoved her way inside, eyes wild. What the hell did you do? She hissed, voice low and shaking. Do you have any idea what you've started? My mom's not speaking to me. My job, they're reviewing my conduct. Travis left me. He just ghosted. Lindsay blocked my number. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, silent. She paced the living room like a trapped animal, clawing at her hair. You sick, twisted, she started, but then choked it back, breathing hard. You think you're some kind of hero? You're pathetic. You're bitter. You're nothing without me. The words bounced off me harmlessly. She needed me to react. She needed me to get angry, to scream, to lash out so she could twist it into her story. Look what he did, look how crazy he is. But I wouldn't give her that. I stayed silent. The longer I said nothing, the more she cracked. You think anyone's going to love you after this? She spat, stepping closer. You're a coward. Hiding behind emails and whispers. You couldn't even face me like a man. I almost laughed. This was her real face. Not the sweet, laughing girl I thought I married. Just a raw nerve wrapped in spite and desperation. You're not worth hating, I said finally, voice cold and final. Something in her face buckled at that. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again like she wanted to scream, wanted to claw something apart. Instead, she grabbed the nearest thing she could, a framed photo of us on our wedding day, and hurled it across the room. The glass shattered into a rain of glittering pieces. I didn't flinch. Didn't move. She stood there, chest heaving, surrounded by the wreckage she had created, a trembling silhouette of the life she could never crawl back into. The silence stretched so long it turned into a wall between us. Finally, she whispered so low I almost didn't catch it. Please. One broken word. No demands. No threats. Just that one pathetic scrap of something she couldn't even name anymore. I shook my head slowly. You ended this, I said. You. And then I stepped back. Held the door open wide. She stared at me for a full minute, maybe waiting for something to change, some miracle to save her from herself. But miracles don't come for people like Brittany. Finally, she walked out. No words. No backward glance. Just a hollow shell dragging itself down the steps and into the waiting darkness. I closed the door behind her with the finality of a coffin lid sealing shut. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel trapped anymore. I felt free. The house was so quiet after she left that it almost didn't feel real. No footsteps upstairs. No clinking of glasses in the kitchen. No forced laughter from the other side of the couch. Just silence. A heavy, raw silence that filled every room like a new beginning. I didn't touch the shattered photo. I didn't sweep up the glass. Let it stay there. Let it bleed itself out across the floor like the final wound of a battle I hadn't asked for but had won anyway. I didn't move for a long time. Just stood there, breathing, listening, feeling. Somewhere deep down, I expected the sadness to come crashing in, the way everyone says it does. The wave. The collapse. But it didn't. Instead, there was a strange, raw clarity. A space inside me that had been crammed full of compromises, lies, half-truths, and denial was suddenly wide open. I wasn't happy. Not yet. But I wasn't broken either. I was clean. Later that night, I sat at the kitchen table opening bills, sorting through the mess of paperwork she had left behind like a trail of rotting breadcrumbs. Among them, I found things I hadn't even known existed. Bank statements for accounts I hadn't opened. Credit cards in her name with my address. Charges that didn't match any timeline she had ever told me. Clubs. Hotels. Jewelry stores. All the pieces of a life she was building right under my nose. It was overwhelming, not the money, not even the betrayal, but the sheer volume of it. The sheer boldness. She hadn't loved me for a long time. She hadn't even liked me. I was a base. A steady paycheck. A warm house to return to when the partying got stale. I sat there, letting the full truth finally settle, and something inside me, something that had been straining for years, finally snapped free. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. I was just loyal to the wrong person. And that loyalty nearly cost me everything. My phone buzzed then, rattling against the table. I looked down. Blocked number. I let it ring out. But the voicemail came through immediately after. Her voice. Brittany. Barely holding itself together. You win, she said. 3 words. Bitter. Broken. You destroyed everything. I hope you're happy. I hope it was worth it. A long, shuddering breath on the line. Then. I have nowhere to go. Silence. Then the click of the line cutting off. I replayed the voicemail once. Twice. Let the sound of her defeat soak into my skin like cold rain. She wasn't reaching out because she loved me. Not even because she regretted what she did. She was reaching out because she had no one left. I could have answered. Could have twisted the knife. Could have dragged it out just to watch her writhe. But that would have made me no better than her. And after everything, if there was one thing I refused to be anymore, it was small. I deleted the voicemail. Blocked the new number. Pushed the phone away from me like it was something diseased. Brittany had made her choices. Now she could live with them. Alone. As for me, I had no idea what the future looked like. It was a blank page. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't scared of that. I welcomed it. The next few weeks passed in a kind of brutal clarity. I wasn't healing. Healing implies some kind of careful bandaging, some kind of tending. No, I was cauterizing. Burning the wound shut so nothing could grow there again. I sold the house. Fast. A real estate agent came through, all smiles and professional distance. I didn't explain why I was selling. I didn't tell him about the memories soaked into the walls, the betrayals rotting behind the drywall. It wasn't his business. It wasn't mine anymore either. I packed light. Just the essentials. Clothes. Books. My tools. Everything else, furniture, decor, old keepsakes Brittany had touched, I left behind. Let the new owners deal with it. I moved into a small, clean apartment across town, nothing fancy, but nothing broken either. It wasn't a fresh start. It was a clean exit wound. I stopped checking Brittany's socials. Stopped asking mutual friends for updates. Stopped wondering how her story was unraveling. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor. It delivered the news anyway. I walked into a coffee shop one morning, just a normal Thursday, grabbed my order, turned to leave. And there she was. Not Brittany. Her sister. Chloe. She looked wrecked. Not in the fake, dramatic way Brittany always did after a fight, but genuinely gutted, like someone had ripped out her foundation and left her standing on bare earth. She caught my eye and froze. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she walked up to me, no hesitation, no anger, just this heavy, exhausted energy like she'd been carrying a secret too big for her hands. "I'm sorry," she said. Just that. No preamble. No drama. I didn't say anything. She swallowed hard, glanced around like she was afraid Brittany might materialize out of thin air. "She's not doing good," Chloe said finally, voice low. "After everything came out, nobody wants anything to do with her. Travis bailed. Her job put her on administrative leave. Mom told her not to come around until she sorts herself out. She's living in her car right now." I stood there, coffee cooling in my hand. Chloe's eyes searched my face, maybe looking for some crack, some soft spot. But there wasn't one. Not anymore. "I just thought you should know," she said, a little quieter. "She talks about you. Still. Like maybe you'll forgive her if she says the right thing." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I just said, "Tell her not to." Chloe nodded slowly, like she already knew that was coming. Then she turned and left. I watched her go. Watched the door swing shut behind her. Watched the street beyond, full of strangers moving past, untouched by all the wreckage Brittany had left behind. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt finished. Back at my apartment, I dumped the coffee into the sink. Sat down at the kitchen table, no photos, no trophies, no ghosts, and stared at the blank, clean walls around me. It was done. Not because I had won. Not because she had lost. Because I had finally chosen myself. Weeks bled into months. The seasons changed, peeling away the last pieces of the life I had shared with Brittany like old paint stripping off a house left too long in the rain. I didn't chase happiness. I didn't chase anything. I rebuilt slowly. Quietly. Found a better job, one that didn't chain me to a desk for the sake of someone else's dreams. Met new people, not looking for anything, not needing anything from them. Started hobbies I had forgotten I even liked. Woodworking. Night drives. Cooking meals no one else would eat but me. For the first time in years, the world didn't feel like a performance. It just was. I never heard from Brittany again directly. Chloe stopped reaching out too. Whatever was left of Brittany's world had collapsed completely, but by then it barely registered anymore. The woman who had once burned in my chest like wildfire was now just a name I used to know. Some nights, when the city was quiet and the hum of traffic sounded far away, I would catch myself thinking about it all, not with regret, not even with anger. Just observation. How easy it is to let rot grow when you refuse to look at it. How loyalty, when given to the wrong person, becomes a noose you tie around your own neck. I wasn't bitter. I was awake. And if anyone asked, if anyone really wanted to know what I learned from watching a life built on love implode, it would be this. Love isn't enough. Effort isn't enough. Hope isn't enough. You can give someone your soul, your trust, your future, and if they're hollow inside, all you'll ever get back is the sound of your own heart breaking. Trust actions, not words. Trust consistency, not apologies. And most importantly, trust yourself. Because when the house burns down, when the masks fall away, when the last cruel word has been said and the last lie told, there's only one person left standing in the ashes. And it better be you.